All right, welcome everybody. Obviously, Lui Marco, and unexpectedly, Mr. Dave Palumbo from RX Muscle. He has a proper background to demonstrate that behind him. Obviously, it is unexpected. We're almost on the last day of December. In a few minutes, we'll be on the 31st. And well, the most eventful, unfortunately, and most talked about video is the one that was made by RX Muscle, which was supposed to be the wrap up of the year. However, they did not call it that way. The title was Greg Valentino Rage Against Experts, and experts were definitely put on between two brackets in a sense, which I find it showcases that they're not real experts. For the record, as you guys know, last week or so, I was invited graciously by Dave to his show, and I went there for 45 minutes where I exposed my opponents in very much detail. And when he started the video, he called me expert. But right now, I'm an expert with two brackets. So straight up, Dave, thank you, first of all, for accepting this. We're doing this at a late hour. I know that you have two young children. You have to put them asleep. So thank you for that. I do appreciate it. So what is going on, sir?
Well, I just my wife had a baby about a week ago, and we have a newborn, and obviously we have my 2-year-old son. So it's challenging, but after everyone goes to bed, that's when I do all my a lot of my video and radio show stuff. So as long as you're up, I said let's do it. I thought there was a misinterpretation of what went on. And I think you felt disrespected, and I felt like, well, you know what, I want to go on, and I want to at least, let's talk this out, rather than sometimes when things get lost in translation. The show that we did, which was with Greg Valentino, obviously, John Romano and Chris and myself, was unplanned. I mean, we came up with topics. One of the topics, the big topics, I think, was, especially at the end of the year, was the confrontation between you and William Bonac, and it got a lot of play online. So I thought it was relevant to talk about it. I didn't know what anyone was going to say, and I really didn't know their opinions. I had my opinion. I had you on the show. I knew your side of the story. I knew William's side of the story. And these guys, they go crazy, and like I said,
sorry to cut you off. I don't know them. I know Chris Acito very well. I think he's very relevant, very knowledgeable. Actually, guru. I was the guy actually who sent him Big Ramy. Probably he doesn't know, but we're gonna talk about that later. But yeah. Please go ahead.
So first of all, from what I understand, you're a Greg Valentino fan, according to at least Greg. But that's
sorry,
something
it was cutting. Can you repeat that? It was cutting. I'm sorry about it.
Oh, I was under the impression that you were a Greg Valentino follower or fan.
No, by no means. I think I've never made a video about him in my whole YouTube venue, and God knows I made a lot of videos about people who have oil, but I didn't never mention that person. For all I know, as far as I remember, there's not a single video with his name on its title.
So when I set up Iron Debate, I set it up as a show so that people have differing opinions, and sometimes everyone agrees with each other, and sometimes no one agrees with each other. The shows when no one agrees is usually the best shows, and people get upset with the show. Like Flex Wheeler got upset when I had a show when Valentino was on and Boston Lloyd was on. And he wasn't mad at me because of anything I said. He was mad at what I allowed them to say. And, what I tried to explain to Flex was, and he didn't want to hear it at the time, was that I don't censor these people. These people are on, they give their own opinions. It's Iron Debate. It's like Crossfire on CNN. If you get insulted by what they say, that's not my fault. That's the nature of the show. It's to allow people to say what they want. Just because Romano and Valentino don't think that you're an expert or think that you caused problems with Bonac, is their fault. If anything, I supported you and I said, look, that wasn't the case. I don't agree with what you guys are saying, but I think you took it a little too seriously and took it too personally. No, so I don't know why you got so bent out of shape over it. It was a show that's meant for people to debate their beliefs. Okay. And everyone has their own beliefs.
Thank you for exposing your view. Now, I will definitely prove to you right away that it was not the case. Actually, the very start of your so-called debate was a premise by your presentator, Sadiq, is that his name?
Yeah.
He started by, okay, let's assume that Lui Marco did indeed attack Bonac, and let's go. So that was it. Although I came to your show, I exposed to you the very truth. Exposed, by the way, by William Bonac. I sent you a screenshot prior. I invited you to watch my video, which you did kindly. So you guys know the truth that the guy did misinterpret a mere advice to move to Kuwait as a threat. And then you start the whole premise, okay, let's assume that Lui Marco did indeed attack Bonac and disrespected him. Go. And it was not merely a debate, because a debate, although English is my fifth language, which I do not master very well, I think I'm smart enough to comprehend that a debate is a collision of several ideas. It was a bonanza for 30 minutes of attacking Lui Marco with no opposition. This is not a debate.
You know what? But the difference was that I didn't invite you on that show because I didn't know anyone was going to debate you. The premise is, look, you got to remember, you and Lui Marco had an argument in Dubai. Is that correct?
Bonac, you mean?
Yeah, you and William Bonac. And at the end of the argument, you were screaming at him, "You'll never place again." And I know you told me on the TV show that you were just pissed off and that came out of your mouth, but it was an argument you guys had.
Proper. So I think I was man enough to recognize that what I said is just nonsensical. It was out of reflex. I was man enough to recognize that. At 42, I think it's humbling to recognize when something bad. Although the bad thing was initiated fully by him.
Right, but the bottom line is that you guys had an argument out there. Yes. So the question really was, it was metaphorical more than it was in reality. The question was, are social media guys, okay, able to critique pro bodybuilders, and what do you feel about it? And if you notice, my opinion was
not the question made by Sadiq. I mean, Sadiq said, "Okay, let's assume that Lui Marco attacked."
But you're dissecting minutia here. It's irrelevant if you attacked him or not. It doesn't matter. It looked like you guys were fighting with each other, and you were. So whether he perceived that you were attacking him or if you really attacked him, it didn't matter. You guys had an argument in Dubai in the front of millions of people, right?
Absolutely. But again, why don't you start? I mean, I was there. It was literally stabbing in the back the pure truth. You had the truth. Why do you start
Louis,
with
would it have been any better?
Complete opposite.
Louis, would it have been any better if I would have said, if the question would have been, if Lui Marco had insulted William Bonac, or if Lui Marco insulted anybody, because you've insulted plenty of guys. You insulted Phil Heath out there, right? By calling him a bubble gut. Phil took it personally, right?
It's not an insult. It's merely a
That's an insult. Louis.
You have used the word bubble gut on your titles more than me. Which is my title. Which is my.
I don't even care about it. You could say I have a bubble gut all you want. It doesn't bother me because I don't get offended.
No, you have used bubble guts on your titles. It's not an insult. Bubble gut. It's merely a description of.
Well, I think Phil took it as an insult, but Phil took it as an insult.
No.
So the question is, should social media guys be accountable for what they say to pro bodybuilders? And that's really what the question was.
Why didn't you ask that precise question? I mean,
it doesn't matter. But the answer would have been the same thing.
Look at the shitstorm it did create. Look at the backlash you guys had. It was absolutely.
Well, that's Louis. Look, you got way more followers than I do online, and so of course your fans are going to side with you, and my fans are going to side with me.
No, they didn't. Even your fans are against you. You can read the comments. Probably Louis, you were too busy, but I cannot even count up yourself. I mean, I'm follower of you, Dave, and right now I'm unsubscribed, but I don't salute this. It was absolutely grueling.
Louis, I got more. We have more subscribers since the video broke. So obviously, the one or two people that unsubscribed, we got 10 times that subscribed.
It was the reason creating this shitstorm, talking about me to get some traction, which is you know what? As I told you off record, there is legitimate. The fact of the matter is, in the last month, the most viewed video about you was about Lui Marco. The second most viewed was about Lui Marco, and the third one is this one discussing about Lui Marco. So, please allow me to ask you a question. If I'm so uneventful as your show actually seems to pretend, how come I'm the most viewed subject of guys you guys?
Who said that? I've been giving you praise the last couple of weeks especially after the interview, and saying, look, this guy has a following out there of people who watch him. And I even said this on the Iron Debate show. And I said, you guys might, and no one agreed with me, and it didn't matter because that's the kind of show it is. I said, you guys might not agree with me, but he has a following of people that listen to him and that feel that he's valid.
Yeah.
And I think that he has to become valid because of the fact that he's been doing it for so long and that people listen. And I think that anyone could become valid and anyone can get good insights by doing this for a long period of time. That's what makes you an expert. I said he's an expert in his own way. And I said, so if anyone was giving you praise, that's praise to you. Now, and that's validation I'm giving you.
Let me ask you a sincere question. As I said, I give prompts to Cito. He might disagree with me, and I do salute him for the fact that he does not use some crude, disrespectful, and cussing and yelling and saying bad words. I do salute him for that. The other two guys, who are they?
John Romano's been writing in bodybuilding magazines since the 1980s. Okay. So he has a lot of experience. He's critiqued shows. You might not know him because recently he's not.
But we agreed last time that the era of magazines is dead. He used to work for MD, and probably MD has one employee now.
Yeah, well, that doesn't matter because the people who worked and wrote for the magazines, from their 20s to their 50s, okay, have relevancy. Now, if they've transferred that onto the social media platform that we are, and that's what RX Muscle became. John Romano and I started RX Muscle in 2009 when we left or were fired from Muscular Development.
Yeah.
And we wanted to, I guess you could say, expand the social media and the digital, I guess, presence of bodybuilding because we saw that as the future. I've been saying magazines are dead for 10 years now. So I knew that what the future was, and John did too. John, had a problem with the industry where he was out of it for about 5 years. I brought him back on. Valentino was always writing for the magazine. When he was let go, he has his own opinions. Do I agree with all his opinions? No.
Do I agree with some of his opinions? Romano. Yeah. I have no problem. Listen, I salute his expertise, and he's been an ancient in bodybuilding. He knows bodybuilding. But did he at least do some research about the subject? Because he was suggesting that I did attack Bonac via my blogs, which is just not true. How come he does not even bother doing some research before pretending stuff which is absolutely false? It is not professional, is it?
But Louis, I think you're missing the real point. The real point is that you critique these athletes, okay? I critique them, Sean Ray, and we all critique them. And the question was, do people like Lui Marco, who's never written for magazines, do they have
good reason?
Do they have reason to critique him?
Are they valid? Again, I'm sorry.
I agree. I think you are.
You are missing the point because word by word, he was saying that I did attack Bonac on my blog. This is what I'm getting to. The nutshell. He was pretending that I didn't attack Bonac.
Then he was misinformed. That doesn't have any relevance to me if John Romano was misinformed about every nuance of what happened with William Bonac, right? So I don't know why you're holding me responsible. If anything, I
don't listen because it is your show. You take care of the title at the end. If it was as you pretended a wrap up, why don't you call it a wrap up for the year, but you call it a rage against expert against me?
Because that's what Valentino did, and that's your clickbait.
So I am your wrap ape. Can you repeat that?
You know all about YouTube and titling.
Clickbait. Can you say that again?
That's the clickbait. That's what gets people to watch the show.
Proper.
It's like a magazine. It's like the taglines on the magazine.
Okay, good.
Why do you buy a magazine? You buy a magazine because of what the taglines are on.
Proper clickbait. Okay, let's move on, please. The other gentleman, as I told you, I don't know him. For me, he's irrelevant. I'll never make a video about him. I promise you. I think that you did make a video about him about 5 months ago, and he was insulting you because probably he alluded to the fact that he has oil in his arms. He said, "No, I don't have synthol in my arms. I rather have how do you call it? EQ." It was EQ in my arm. And he called you a hypocrite because you, at least back then, you used to sell 2 brands of synthol. Is that true?
I still do, yeah, on DavePalumbo.com.
And you do have protocols for basically show people how to inject site-enhancing oils.
I believe there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, exactly.
Okay, do you think that rhymes with fitness? Because we are into fitness. Fitness for me, it is being fit. Does it rhyme injecting your arms with synthol? Is it?
Are you in the bodybuilding industry?
Okay, bodybuilding, is it fitness or not? Because me, you call it sport. I call it pageant.
It is a pageant. I agree with you. It's not really a sport. It's a pageant. It's a like Miss America. It's who's ever the most beautiful. Except in bodybuilding, it's who's got the best muscle.
You know
and
the
guys
rules.
will
You know that
use
the
anything.
IFBB does not salute site enhancing oils. You know that.
Louis, wake up.
It's cheated even by their standards.
Bodybuilders use every drug known to man to make themselves look better.
I know,
and
but
my responsibility to the bodybuilding world is knowing this, is to try to teach them how to use it responsibly.
Okay.
Because they're going to use it.
Okay, so what if in the top 10, Mr. Olympia, there is a blatant SEO basically case? What will they do?
Well, if it looks ridiculous and they have lumps in their shoulders, they're going to mark these guys down.
Okay, and that's why I don't agree with you when it is ridiculous. Because as for the bubble gut, for me, I think it's already ridiculous. As for you and your panel, it is merely an illusion.
Well, the bubble gut. Look, most bodybuilders have a stomach, especially if you weigh over 250
Hallelujah.
pounds. Look, Louis,
Dave Palumbo says it.
Louis, I'm telling you, I was a 300+ pound bodybuilder. When your body weight goes over 250 pounds, you have thick abdominal muscles, and the midsection will stick out. All right, shorter torso
That's what
guys.
we're saying. You guys say it was not there.
Can I finish what I'm talking? Can I finish talking?
Please.
Guys with short torsos will have bigger midsections because they have less room for the muscle to be spread out over. Guys with long torsos, Jay Cutler's, Gutta Schlickkamp's come to mind, Rami, they have a longer area to spread that muscle out over. They have less likely of having a rounded midsection. Kai Green has a short midsection torso. He has a bigger midsection. So as guys get bigger, that roundness gets bigger. So the guys that get away with people not knowing that they have this or don't get criticized as much are guys that can control it better on stage. Phil has put an enormous amount of muscle on since he won the Olympia, and thus his midsection, protrudes when he's not paying attention or controlling it. The question is, when does it get marked down on stage? And I say that it only should be marked down if it's apparent in quarter turns and mandatory poses, not when the guy's hugging another guy or congratulating someone or standing on the side when no one's paying attention to them and they're doing another call out. And you're saying the opposite. You're saying at any time that gut sticks out, they should be marked down.
So according to you, us fans, when we are watching a show live, and thankfully now it is in HD 1080p, probably it was in 4K this year, we should pretty much probably cover our eyes when the guy is doing basically a transition. Oh, he's breathing. There's bubble gut. Do not watch it. It does not count. The best photographer in the world, probably, in my opinion, in fitness is Matthias Busse. I do salute you, my German you. When he took those pictures, for you, according to you, he should refrain from taking these continuous pictures because the guy is relaxing, he's breathing, and there's a bubble gut?
Well, I saw the pictures you posted on that video. I went back and actually watched it. And first of all, I would tend to say Per Bernal is the best photographer out there, but Matthias is pretty good. The pictures you posted up there were like Phil, like hugging one guy, another one where he's just standing relaxed. They're not even evaluating these guys. That's not how the judges judge these guys. They judge them when they're doing quarter turns. They judge them when they're executing mandatory poses. And when Phil is executing the mandatory poses, his gut's not hanging out. If it was, I'd be the first guy to say, mark the guy down. Rodin, unfortunately, gut was hanging out when he was hitting poses.
I completely disagree with you. With all due respect, your prism of reality is completely, totally different from mine. Well, the mandatories of Phil Heath. Any front double biceps was a front bubble biceps. A front lat spread, it was protruded. If you cannot see it, we have different metrics. And guess what? The new generation, and you'll agree to that, seems to agree with me. Our metrics are totally different. I'm sorry, the bubble gut was there, not only in transitions, not only in quarter turns, not only when he was breathing, it was obvious. As a testament, the proper gentleman did perform a surgery, a life-threatening one, supposedly merely 12 days after that famous win, which you described as the best shape of his life.
Yeah, well, because you almost gave him a nervous breakdown with the bubble gut stuff that you got.
I am the cause of your operation. I'm sorry.
Now listen, Louis. This is the bottom line. the bottom line is that your fans, okay, which a lot of your fans, and and you know this, love to just hate, okay?
No,
And if
no,
you
I
come
will
up,
not allow you to describe my fans like that.
no, I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying a lot of guys like that you point out things that are wrong, okay? And look, when someone is famous and they're doing well, people love to break them down. It's human nature. Look at the stars out in Hollywood. You know, when they break a story that this guy was sex scandal or something else, went down, people, they love it. They can't read about it enough. They can't hear about it enough.
It is just a matter of reality.
No, it's not reality. You know why? Because
let me bring you back to the rules. You know this better than me. Isn't that a rule in the IFBB?
Then why aren't the judges? Then why weren't
like
the judges marking him down?
96 or 97?
Why weren't the judges marking him down if it was so?
They're not applying their own rule.
What?
They did a rule. There is a rule, existing rule that should penalize basically the bubble gut since the era of Marcus Rule and Nasser El Sambari. They're not applying it. You know what very well.
All right. Louis, let's give it to you. Let's assume Phil Heath loses the front lat spread and the front double bicep and the ab thigh, okay? Because you don't like those poses and you think his bubble gut is sticking out.
Yes.
He wins all the other poses, and so he still wins the Olympia.
It's not
okay,
enough.
So it doesn't matter.
It's not enough. It's not enough.
It is enough. It is.
No.
Do you really think that Ramy was good enough to win that Olympia this year?
Ramy,
I'm a Ramy fan.
For the record, I was not saying only Ramy should win, but for me, it would have been a happy camper if William Bonac should have been Olympia. I said it on record. Probably it's the 11th time I'm repeating this.
Yeah.
For me, it is a disqualification factor. When you have a problem, you're not fit. You cannot be the very model of the best physique in the world, and merely less than 2 weeks after, you're pushed to have a life-threatening operation. It does not compute for me. It does not compute for the fans. Not only that, you guys were categorically, adamantly insisting that it was an illusion. How on earth can you look me in the eye and say, Louis, it was an illusion?
I didn't say it was an illusion. I did not say that. I said that he did not have a gut hanging out when he hit his poses. I said he didn't have a gut hanging out when he hit his poses. I didn't say that he didn't have a protruding midsection when he wasn't hitting his poses. The pictures you put up are real. They're not Photoshopped. When he's relaxing, he has a gut. Now, do you really believe, okay, that this surgery that he got is going to correct that problem?
It is my own opinion. I think it was not too big of a deal of a surgery. It is just my opinion.
I don't think so either. I think he had an umbilical hernia. That's why his belly button was sticking out. And his midsection will be exactly the same next year minus the umbilical hernia.
Then I will guarantee you, if they give it to him with the same case he had last year, it will be a deluge. It will be a tsunami. At the end of the day, IFBB is a corporation. Corporation cannot sustain its living if the very foundation the fans are not following. They will absolutely lose the fan if they break up to the number 8 with the same bubble.
They will not lose any fans.
I promise you that.
They're not going to lose any fans. You know why? Because most people believe that Phil deserved to win. Your fans may not agree with it.
Really?
Your viewers
He blocked his comment section probably weeks after Mr. Olympia. You know, most of the majority, even his fans were against him. Come on.
Louis, you got a big following. You got a big following, and these guys were after him.
He has 3 million followers. I have nearly 200,000
It doesn't
on
matter.
my
Your followers were after him, and they're. Let me explain something. I have followers. You have followers. My followers are guys who are old-time bodybuilders. They're guys who love bodybuilding, hardcore. They don't post online. Your followers like to participate online. So when your followers have a cause, they'll go on my page or whoever page is out there, and they'll post 6 million comments. And I don't block comments because I really don't care. The only comments I've ever blocked.
So my fans are very influential, right?
No, I think your fans are just very. There's a lot of them. That's all. So your fans, so they'll post everywhere on social media. They'll blast me on my own page. I don't care. I don't remove comments because it doesn't bother me.
Okay.
But some people do. Phil is Mr. Olympia. He's got a fragile ego, and when enough people start, saying stuff about him, he gets pissed off about it. He shouldn't because he's Mr. Olympia. The last thing I would have done would be address you after I won the Olympia. But it was bothering him, obviously, and he felt the need to. But that's Phil Heath. I'm not Phil Heath.
On the same line, in a sense, talking about being respectful and being genuine and being acting like a gentleman. And to close the topic of your last video once and for all, if I may, you were there. Didn't you feel nauseated and somehow really felt embarrassed when you assisted to that show of pretty much low IQ, just insulting, rambling, F word after F word every 5 seconds? You were sitting there. Didn't you feel bad? Didn't you feel embarrassed? I mean, you're my age pretty much. You know me. I spoke to your wife in a respectful way. I'm having you here. I'm respecting to you in a politically correct way. Didn't you feel bad being in that company? Honestly.
No, I'll tell you why. I don't believe there's any. I think that everyone has their own personality, their own way of expressing themselves, and that's why I have shows where I have debates. Okay, I felt that my opinion, and I have a very different opinion of you, and you know that. I respect you. I respect what you do. Okay, I don't always agree with everything you say, and that's fine. You know, we could argue all we want. That doesn't mean I don't like you. And I think that's something that I think you have a little bit too sensitive of a streak going through you, because you take things that I say personally. I don't take anything that you say personally. It's your opinion. That doesn't mean I don't respect you as a human being. It doesn't mean that I don't think what you're doing is good for the sport. It just means that I don't agree with you. And so I told you this via text. Okay. You got to get a thick skin, and you got to stop worrying about what people think about you, because you know what? Not everyone's going to like you. I learned that a long time ago. There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm sorry if you have that impression. It is a proper misconception. My skin is very thick. Although my only thing is that I block people because I hate negativity. When they curse, it is an automatic block for me. But that's just me. One last question.
You blocked me. You blocked me initially before we became friends. You blocked me too, and I didn't ever curse at you. You just didn't like what I was saying about you, so you got mad.
No, you called me a troll. You made fun of my.
I never used that word troll. Never.
Really? The video is here. You were making a video with Boston Lloyd. No, Rich Piana. May he rest in peace. Listen. You can ask Aaron, our mutual friend. I have a proper memory. You were doing an interview with Rich Piana. What do you think about trolls like Lui Marco? Available? You know what? I'll send it to you later.
I believe you. I believe you. You know what the truth is, Louis? At 49 years old, I don't remember everything I say. The point is, what my opinion is, okay, or what I might say to people to try to incite them to say things, should not bother you. You know who I am at this point. It
doesn't. Sorry.
There's a certain amount of theatrics.
Listen, I mean, I promise you to close that subject of these guys. My last question about them, their discourse and their speech of hate and spewing F word, do you think will be very popular with today's fans who are looking for respectful people, mature? Does it sound really mature? Do you think it will resound a lot?
Louis, do you really think that today's fans are mature? Are you kidding me? Are you serious?
Look at the backlash.
Who cares? The backlash is because you have a lot of supporters.
No, not only me.
If it wasn't your I've seen the most.
Nick Miller made a video about it. A lot of people did reply with you, but maybe you're too busy. But believe me, the majority of
watched
fans,
Nick's
you can
video.
believe me or not, the majority of fans, I think they found them very grueling, dreadful, immature, basic. Probably the IQ level combined was in the single digits.
Louis, you know what? Stop crying. It is what it is. You're crying over guys.
You have an illusion.
Everyone has their own shtick. That's Valentino's shtick. He curses. That's what he does.
I'm not crying. I'm just looking anabolic. I'm not crying.
I know. You know what? But you know what? You're taking it personally. Once again, not everyone wants to.
I'm just trying to close this subject, if I may. And you know, that's it. I mean, the video is behind me. Let me ask you a question about something we had a disagreement prior to this issue. It is the fact of judging the shows via the screen like we're doing now. Is it valid or not? Let me ask you a question. About a decade ago, is it true that you didn't have the press card for Mr. Olympia?
Yeah, I for 3 years I didn't have press passes, and that's when I made the statement that you put up in that other little very sarcastic video.
Proper. So you were doing reviews outside.
I'll just judge the shows from the webcast. That's what I said.
Mamma mia.
Yeah. Yes, I said that. But you know what? I would look. I said I would analyze the shows from the webcasts. I didn't say that I would criticize the judge.
I will critique the show. You can watch the video again.
What?
You said me and Acito and Romano will be able to give you critiques. I will critique these physiques.
Well, that's because I had no press passes. But the point is, the best way to critique a show, and if
Yes.
you're going to criticize judges, you better be sitting right next to the judges. And I still stand by that.
I know, but you don't go to every show and you still
right,
review
because
them.
it's, you know what? It's not cost effective. But you know what the truth is? When I critique a show now, and I don't agree with the judges, I always preface it on every radio show and every analysis show I do by saying, you know what? I don't agree, but I wasn't there. I always say that you can go pull, you like to pull clips, go pull clips. I always say I wasn't there, so I don't know, Chris, or I don't know, John, whoever I'm analyzing with, what exactly it looked like in person, okay? And I always say that because, you know what? I don't know. If I'm not there in that front row, I cannot critique the shows.
2015, you were doing a review, a recap in the strip with Romano and Acito, 2015. You can see the video, it is on your channel. And the famous Romano, to close that thing, he said, you know what? After all, I think it's better to watch the show from your home on an HD screen, right? And so, you know, it's an opinion that you have. Even your so-called friends do not agree with you, and you don't agree with yourself, obviously.
No, that's not true. It's called, when you don't have press passes, it's sour grapes.
2015,
you
were
can't
there.
Be there.
No, he was there. 2015, you were there. 2015.
No, I was there, but I didn't have press passes though.
2015?
I was there watching it. I was watching the webcast from my hotel room.
So right now the powers that be grant you access to the front row, right?
Well, not the press row, the press seats.
Okay, that's that. Do you have a question for me? I only have one or two, but I want to allow you to ask me a question. Maybe you have something you didn't comprehend about me you want to add about it.
No, I wanted to add one thing. Nick, I was watching. You mentioned Nick, your buddy there. His channel, and he was critiquing what's going on between you and us, and he said to himself, he's like, I never portray myself as being an expert. I'm just a guy who has an opinion.
Yes.
Would you say that you're the same?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, he also said bodybuilding isn't on TV, right?
Yes, it's not on TV.
It's only on the internet. Now, if bodybuilding were to be on TV, okay, who would the TV networks hire to analyze the show? You, because you have the biggest following, or Nick, because he has a huge following, or would they hire me, or Sean Ray, or Chris Aceto?
Certainly not people who curse.
Let's forget the cursing. I don't curse. Who would they hire? Me or you?
By your statement that you told me a few minutes ago, you told me you are merely the Howard Stern of fitness, right? Something like that?
No, I didn't say. I said I like to do Howard Sternish shows.
Well,
that doesn't mean I do all my shows like that, because my analysis shows
does not really rhyme with truth in bodybuilding. And I don't know. Personally, I'm not interested to review bodybuilding for any network or to comment on the Olympia.
Who would the network hire? You, me, or Nick?
Probably they will hire a guy like, I'd say, Sean
I didn't
Ray.
ask you. I gave you a choice of 3 people.
No, none of us. Probably none of us. I'd say Sean Ray is more.
You don't think that Dave Palumbo has a valid opinion in this industry among the top 10? I'm not going to put myself in at the top because I don't think I'm the best.
Definitely not
Am
more
I in the
than
top
me and
10?
Nick. Definitely not more than me than Nick. You know why? Because it's all about business, and I think me and Nick, we have way more views than you. We're more popular.
So you think when they get someone in the analysis box at the Super Bowl,
yes,
they're going to pick a social media guy over John Madden?
Not a social media guy, a very popular guy.
No, they're not. They're not. Business. You're out of your mind if you think that. The networks are going to go with someone who knows the sport, who's been up there, who has the insights of the sport and understands the nuances of it. And that doesn't make me better. Look, that doesn't make me better than you. It just makes me more of an expert because I've been in the sport longer and I've been on the stage and you haven't.
Just when we made our first interview, you were alluding to the fact I am more popular than you because I started longer than you.
Are.
Then
you're more popular. How do you
explain that Nick started merely a year ago? He's like 10 times more popular than you.
Well, he has he has more subscribers than me.
More views than you.
And more views, exactly. That doesn't mean that he's more relevant. But that doesn't mean he's more relevant. That doesn't mean he's more relevant.
People find him more relevant. The youth. What did you guys get into with the youth? I'm your age, and I do accept that the youth basically have different views. We need to evolve. It is merely adaptability. What's wrong with it?
There's nothing wrong with it. Like I said, I think what you and Nick are doing are great. That doesn't mean that you're more. That doesn't mean that you're more insightful or more valid in terms of analyzing bodybuilding competitions than I am.
I actually think that one day you will have more outreach than me and or Nick.
I'll tell you one thing. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing. I have better insights into bodybuilding because I've been doing it and I've been competing. Okay? You have never competed at an elite level. While I've never been a pro, I've been at the elite level. I was talking
to Phil Heath merely a few months ago, and he said, you know why actually Hani Rambod is the best actually guru in the world? Because he went into the trenches when he was natural for the longest time. So I don't agree with you. I don't think that you know bodybuilding more than me. We're not being childish here. I'm not going to ask you about technicalities and here and that.
Look, I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled
to my opinion. I mean, may he rest in peace, Nasser El-Somebody. He was not very, very gracious when he was talking about you on bodybuilding.com. I mean, if you call, you were having Kevin Levrone winning Mr. Olympia. Were you really trolling or serious?
No, I wasn't serious. First of all,
you were not serious.
I'm a big Kevin Levrone fan. Okay?
Well, Kevin Levrone called me prior to you to ask me what I think about him coming back to Mr. Olympia. I don't know why.
Right. He can do whatever he wants. I'm saying I am a Kevin Levrone fan. Okay. I'm friends with Kevin. I never got a chance to see his legs.
What about your credence? I mean, you were having him winning not only number
Louis,
2,
I was being sensationalistic. All right. I like to embellish
it. You know what? I give you that. Finally,
I have a lot of shtick. You know what shtick is? You know what that word means?
Something of Yiddish. I have enough culture.
It means being funny and sarcastic. I have a very sarcastic sense of humor, and I have a very sensationalistic way of doing things.
People took it as being misleading. Because listen, our friend Mr. Singerman asked you after Kevin removed his T-shirt next to Cedric. It was quite obvious that this guy will not even be top 6. You were still having, he's going to win. Is it that false reporting or humor?
It was humor. It was humor.
Thank you.
It was humor.
Thank you. Thank you. You know what? God bless you. We are absolutely at the 31st of January. I did not prepare a single question because I never edit my videos. And that was it. That's the difference. Let me give you a confession since it is the 31st of December. Okay. My aim, and probably you noticed since 2016, I'm not publishing videos. I do not like the current state of bodybuilding. The fact of the matter is I still talk to the who's who in the bodybuilding rank. Probably I have access to Kai Green. I can send a message to Phil Heath right now. Big Ramy, the top guys. Their girlfriends. I'm sorry. I think you still do not have it. Why? They don't like you. They like me better. But even at that, I'm not looking to be the best specialist. I'm not boasting. You know very well that the last trip that I made in Kuwait was made by our mutual friend, was paid by our mutual friends, Aaron Singerman. So it's not Badr Budai. He paid for, Aaron paid for the hotel. Redcon.
I didn't know that.
For everything. I was there for business. It was obvious. I hooked them up, right? And the previous thing to Kuwait too, I went there to basically push Redcon 1. So it's all about business. It's not that Budai, I'm his basically spokesman. I don't have access to one single of his athletes on my WhatsApp and they can testify. I don't talk to Big Ramy. I don't talk to Rolly, not to Nathan. The only guy I talk to is Regan. That's it. It is the truth. And if you still say, hey, I'm basically at least be truthful. Do remember when I called out Big Ramy, medium Ramy, mediocre Ramy, and he was mad about it. It is a testament that I'm not biased. When I called out Rolly Winkler about the bubble gut, it was the biggest bubble gut that I called. The first one was Rolly Winkler. Guess where he is? Camel Crow. So these are truths I think that should be researched prior of saying or stating that Lui Marco is this or that. Please do that.
You're not gonna admit that Bader Badai loves you, thinks that you're great, loves your channel.
Love me, but why does he have the right to invite Chris Aceto, who is not reporting me? At least when I go there, I publish pictures, I expose that show that you described as number 3 in the world after the Ohio. I was the guy who was basically keeping everybody informed, making interviews with the guys, taking pictures.
No, you did a good job out there. They should have brought more press out there. I don't know why they didn't.
Exactly. So when you have a guest saying that I went there because I was Muslim, did he forget that Chris Aceto is Muslim too, and he was going there too? Was Chris Aceto going there because he was a convert to Islam? Doesn't make
Chris
sense.
went there because he was helping Rami. He stayed at Rami's house.
Exactly. So I mean, Bob Ciccarello there was invited by him. Sean Ray goes there, and you know what? He does nothing.
I believe it. He goes everywhere.
He sits there and watches the show.
He goes there. He goes everywhere and does nothing. I don't know what I don't know how he gets invited.
He goes there. Literally, I'm there, and he watches the show like this. Bob Ciccarello, at least he is the MC and everything.
Right.
So how come that guy has the right to go, and me, I'm going there for business to introduce an American company from Florida. I'll go there, and all of a sudden I'm being sold out.
Let me ask you this question: why does Aaron need you to introduce Redcon? He's very good at speaking himself.
Because English happens to be my fifth language, and I do speak Arabic very well. I'm very loved in our country.
Well, Bader speaks very well. Bader speaks English very well also.
The fans there speak Arabic, so I'm very close to them. I mean, it's all about business.
Look, I'm glad you're making money. I'm glad Aaron's got you on the payroll. That's great. You've earned your wings. A lot of guys are big social media guys, and they make no money. You got to make a living for yourself. I always say that. I said, look, Lui Marco's got to make a living.
Talking about Aaron, which I call him Aaron Zingerman. You know him better than me because he used to be your employee.
Absolutely.
Talking about flight, exactly. I know that you used to fly him a lot overseas in economy class. He flew me in first class. I do salute him for that.
Aaron's rich. That's why I'm not as rich as him.
He loves luxurious stuff. I'll tell you some stories you will laugh. Anyway, I have two questions about him. What do you think about him as being a businessman? And secondly, what is your insight about his knowledge of bodybuilding?
Aaron?
Yes.
I'm actually very proud of what he's accomplished. I think that it was, a lot of people didn't really give much credence to Aaron. When I first hired him, a lot of people asked me, why are you hiring this guy? He's unknown. He's not in the industry. I said, look, he's willing to learn. He's very intuitively knowledgeable. I said he picks things up quickly. He's loyal to me. I said, and that's I've given a lot of people chances in this industry. A lot of the people who are running the industry now and work for all these magazines or websites started with me. A lot of these people. So I'm a big believer in giving people the ability to grow and spread their wings, so to speak. So I'm kind of really proud with Aaron. I kind of feel like almost like his dad.
I think he's an overachieving businessman. He's proven his company. I mean, it made like leap and bounce in only.
Yeah, I think people are jealous of the fact that he made a lot of money, and there's some people that don't like him because of that. But that's the way it is. That's why I said, Louis, not everyone's going to like you. That's the bottom line.
My second question: what can you say about his knowledge about fitness and bodybuilding? Actually,
I think it started out minimal, and I think over the years of him working with me and going to all the shows and covering the shows, I think he grew into a very knowledgeable person about bodybuilding, having a lot of great insights and being able to critique the shows properly because of his experience level that he garnished on that road.
Lately, I did hook him up with two athletes. The first one you had actually on your, you made a video about him. His name is Steve Loris. I think we both can agree that he's a proper potential. I named him Mr. Proper. Mm-hmm. And the second one, probably don't know him as of yet because it's so fresh. His name is Chris. He's amazing. And how it happened in merely a few seconds. I sent a message to Aaron. 5 seconds later, the answer, let's get this guy. I was already chatting with the guy. I was already on it. And it all happened online. We never even met these guys. Right. Isn't it a testament that fitness can grow through through internet? We can see these guys. We never met them in real life, yet we gave them contract. It was that fast.
Yeah, but these guys have proved themselves on the stage too. I mean, Steve Lorius.
Chris, second one, not even compete yet.
I don't even know who the second guy you're talking about is.
I guarantee you have a video about him.
Yeah. What's his last name?
Oh, let me tell you really quick. Is my latest acquisition. So,
the reason why he's getting
genuinely, without animosity, you will absolutely love him. So his last name is Hester, like Danny Hester, the ex-Mr. Olympia, and you will see, obviously. Mm-hmm. But anyway, thank you. And if we ever meet, There's no animosity. I'll tell you a lot of cool stories about Aaron and his love and his side of luxurious and lavish lifestyle.
I've seen a lot of it already. Believe me,
Oh,
I know.
laugh. You will laugh. Believe me.
Look, like I said, I have no problem with you. I think that you take offense to things very easily. You have a sensitive side about you. If you don't like the way people are speaking, the language they're using, you take offense, and you're entitled to that.
After all, I mean, English is my fifth language. I
understand you're entitled to that, but this is I gave this advice to a lot of people. It's a brutal industry. Guys will love and hate you at the same time, and don't take it personally, because you know what? If you do, it'll drive you nuts. And this stuff doesn't bother me. You know what I mean?
I told you, I'll give you the same answer. I mean, your wife follows me, and probably and actually she follows my daily basically stories on my Instagram.
She does.
She can convey to you that I have a very funny, very happy life. It does not affect me. I have my last question for you. What do you think about me being 42 and staying natty? And do you think that is if I was the other route, if I was enhanced, because you are a specialist in this field, do you think I would have basically looked a little bit maybe older?
I don't know. People say that I look younger since I've stopped taking anabolics and I stopped eating, and I downsized. So I think the anabolics, make you retain fluid in your face, and you make your face more muscular, and it does give you an older appearance. So who knows? Look, you'll probably outlive all of us, and no one knows, what the negatives of taking anabolic steroids are long term. Some people, it sets a time bomb off in their body. Other people are fine. So I know guys that have been taking steroids for 50 years and they still look good. So who knows? Like I said, I chose at a certain point when I was about 38 years old that I wanted to live a long time, and I wasn't going to be that big anymore. And I started downsizing, and it's not worth it for me. Health is important, and that's why I try to educate people. I know bodybuilders are going to use drugs, and I know bodybuilders are going to do things that are risky. And I feel that given the fact that I've bridged that gap between being able to compete and then come away from it, I think it's my responsibility to teach people how to do things responsibly and monitor their health, because this sport can be done in a semi-healthy way if you monitor what's going on. And so rather than say everyone should stop using drugs, which is never going to happen, let us at least educate people to what the risks are of what they're doing.
Okay, in that panel, most of you were Italians, which brings me to another Italian who passed away, may he rest in peace, Mike Matarazzo.
Yeah.
When he was sick, they interviewed him and they told him, if you had a son, would you let him do bodybuilding? He said, no way. You have a son, would you let him do bodybuilding in an enhanced route?
Off the bat, of course, you want to always protect your kids and keep them safe. And I'd say no. But if my son was crazy passionate about bodybuilding and it was what he lived for and Dad, this is what I want to do. There's nothing else I want to do. I don't know why. I'm consumed with it. I feel a need. I'm calling to do this. Of course, I would support his decision, because you know what? At some point, one of the great things that my dad did for me was he never told me what to do. He always says, Dave, you choose yourself. I'll support it. I left medical school in my third year. Almost at the end of the third year, I had about 1 year and a couple months left of med school to become a doctor. I'm sure that was driving my dad crazy when I stopped. And he never said anything until later in life. He said, I was kind of disappointed when you left, but you showed me that obviously it was the right decision because you were successful and you love what you do. So I applaud my father for that, because not many parents would be able to do that. So what do I want my son to go into bodybuilding, especially with all these steroid use? No. But you know what? If that's really what he wanted to do, I would make sure he did it, safely and responsibly.
Are there any red lines in the consumption? You made a video lately when you spoke about our mutual friends, Boston Lloyd, about his protocol of pregnancy, and you said, you're crazy. It's just insane. So it's like he crossed a red line. He was exaggerating. Are there red lines when it comes to the consumption? Is DMP okay for you?
No.
DMP is not okay?
I think it has no place in bodybuilding, and I've said this before. The reason is that DMP's effective dosage is too close to the LD50, which is the lethal dose. So if you just go a little too far, you can kill yourself. So to me, that's not an acceptable drug to use. I think that the problem with Boston is that he's an extremist. So if if there's a protocol that where you reach a point where this works, he'll go here. And even with the pregnancy protocol, he could have stayed here where I told him to, but he had to go more because he wanted to prove in his mind that more is better. He likes taking drugs. I don't know why. Look, I love the kid. I feel like he's like my brother, but you know what? He does crazy, insane stuff. I don't know why he does it. I can't control the people. All I can do is give them advice, you know. And like I said, he'll always be a good friend of mine. He's a very loyal guy. He's got a good heart. He just likes to take drugs. Hopefully, at some point, he'll outgrow that.
Well, he will have a son soon. Maybe it will ground him. Do you have any other red lines, basically, that bodybuilders do when you find insane? I mean, they try to do it to keep the edge, but you consider it being insane.
Yeah, well, I think the problem is with bodybuilders is that they think that, you know, that the more drugs they use, the better. So there's drugs like EPO, erythropoietin, which increases red blood cell count. That drug has no place in bodybuilding because bodybuilders, steroids already enhance red blood cell count. So that's something that
it's for cyclists.
Right. It's for cyclists who can't take steroids because they get drug tested. They use that instead to raise red blood cell count. Yeah. In bodybuilders, it turns your blood to sludge, and you know you can have a heart attack from that. Yeah. So very dangerous. That's a drug that has no place in bodybuilding. There's another drug that a lot of these guys used. It was big in the 90s. I don't know if guys are still using it today. What?
Nubane.
No, well, yeah, Nubane is just a painkiller. Look, I was addicted to it for a couple of years back in the 90s because Craig Titus got everyone taking the stuff. Correct. And it really does. It's really not a good drug for bodybuilding.
Let's salute Craig.
Yeah. No, but there's people used to use what is it called? Aminoglutathamide, which is the chemical name of it. I'm blocking out the common name of it. And it inhibits all the steroidal hormones in your body. People think it's an anti-catabolic type of drug, but it actually blocks all steroidal hormones. To me, that's another drug that's very dangerous because it inhibits clotting factors too. So there are drugs that I consider off limits, and I try to educate people as to why they should be off limits to people. And some people listen, some people don't. You know, unfortunately, I think that the less drugs you can use and get the best benefit out of is probably the safest way to go in bodybuilding. So you don't have to use every drug to be your best. Use the drugs that are the most effective. Make sure what you're using is real, because that's another problem with today's market because everything's underground. And if you take care of that, you're going to be a lot healthier. But once again, when you put anything foreign into your body that's not regulated by, coming out of a pharmacy, and that we don't really know what the side effects are long term, you're risking your health. And unfortunately, a lot of bodybuilders are willing to take that risk. So,
yeah.
Is there a red line? Yeah, there's a red line everywhere. I mean, I don't think guys should be taking 5 grams of testosterone a week, but they do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, off record, they tell me some crazy stuff. I mean, they talk about their foe. They say, yeah, but the other guy is on 6 grams. Is it true? Is it not? I don't know. I don't want to talk a lot about exclusively about Italian bodybuilders, but I have to talk about Paul Di Maio, who passed away at 32.
Yeah.
Was it due to bodybuilding?
Paul, it's funny. It's an ironic story. I was always a big Paul Di Maio fan when I was growing up, and I was also a big Scott Conley fan, and he had started Metrics, and Paul was working for them. And in 1994, Paul and Scott Conley came and did a seminar at my friend's store in Long Island. And I was talking to Paul. He was preparing for the Nationals. He was 6 weeks out. He had torn his calf muscle on a seated calf machine. His foot slipped off the thing and the muscle tore. So the doctor gave him a prescription for Percocet. And he was telling me this. He's like, man, these Percocets are great. I can train great on them. Well, it turns out after that show was over, he became addicted to Percocets, and that progressed to heroin because, you can't get enough Percocet because it's so expensive. These guys go to heroin. That's the closest thing to it. And he became a heroin addict, and it ruined his bodybuilding career, and it ultimately killed him because he used a bad batch of heroin, and it was too concentrated, and he killed himself.
There was a guy that you know probably very well. His name is Mike Christian, one of the best stars of the late 80s, early 90s. I think he was into cocaine as well, and he said something like, when you are used to pin your body with something, it's easy to pin it with something else. Meaning, if you pin a lot with steroids, sometimes you can jump to take something else. Is it true?
Well, I mean, if you're saying, is it a gateway drug? Maybe. I don't know. But I think that, most bodybuilders that are serious bodybuilders want the best results. When I was up and coming and growing, I wanted to grow maximally. And so that meant training eating perfectly, sleeping perfectly. I would never like drink alcohol or put any other drugs into my body because I didn't want to compromise my ability to gain muscle and burn fat. So, with that mindset, the true purist bodybuilder would never use that. But you know what? There's a lot of people in bodybuilding who get into that because they have emotional issues. They have emotional problems. They're trying to mask with all this muscle. And a lot of times these emotions come out and then they use recreational drugs to kind of suppress it. Weed, some of them drink alcohol, some of them use pain meds. And unfortunately, it's a sad story when you see that happen because a lot of great potential bodybuilders have ruined themselves with recreational drugs.
You were competing actually in the 90s, and I'll not ask you this question, but I'll just refer to Nasser al-Somebari. He'd said on record that you should have been IFBB, but you were held by politics, and he named somebody I can name, James Mannion, as being responsible. You do not have to answer that, but I think maybe I do agree with him, and I give you credit for that.
Thank you.
Talking about the 90s, when I grew up, talking about the magazine era, back in the day, we used to see, Ronnie Coleman, Flex Wheeler, Sean Ray, Kevin Levroni, having those so-called of DuPont registry pictures with a big mansion behind them and like 3 or 4 cars aligned. And nowadays, they seem to be not that rich. What was it all about?
Well, Joe Weider was paying some good salaries, and these guys would guest post. You got to remember, Louis, before the internet, the only way you could see a bodybuilder was to buy a magazine or go to an appearance. So what would happen is, at all the major shows all over the world, they would bring in guest posers. I mean, I was a very popular guest poser myself. Probably in the early 2000s, I was doing 25 to 30 guest posings a year. If you're making $2,500 plus selling pictures, remember, no internet, no pictures. So people would come to these shows, and for $10, they'd buy an autographed photo. Now, I was selling, if I sold 100 pictures, I was happy. Nasser or Dorian or Levroni would sell, 500 pictures at $10 a piece. So they would make $5,000 in picture sales. They get another $5,000 for guest posing because they were big names.
No tax. No tax.
No taxes, right, in their pocket, and they're doing this 20 weekends a year. I mean, so that's a lot of money, in addition to a supplement company sponsor. Because remember, there was very few supplement companies, so the companies were making way more money, so they had more money to spend, and then the magazines were giving them contracts. So these guys were bringing in $500,000 a year, and some of it, a lot of it was tax-free. So they had cash to spend, and so they were living large. A lot of these guys, unfortunately, a lot of these guys didn't save any of their money, and then when they stopped competing, they had no money left, and now they have to start over again. So, but a lot of these guys did save their money. I mean, Nasser was a guy who was notoriously cheap. I mean, and I'm sure Sean Ray also pocketed a ton of money. So when they got out of bodybuilding, they had a nice nest egg,
It's kind of funny because Nasser was the most intellectual too. He had the most diplomas, right? Now, you made a video about a week ago when you alluded to the famous hashtag #MeToo, which is a big deal all over the world, especially in the US. It's about, women talking about sexual harassment. By the same token, they talk also about other things like the pay gap. There is supposedly a pay gap between women and men, 30% less. There seems to be a huge pay gap between the 212 and the open bodybuilding. I mean, does that mean that Phil Heath, works out 10 times harder than Flex Lewis for him to get 10 times more? It is, discrepancy, injustice, it is more than the gender pay gap. It is 10 times more.
Yeah. I think it's a big waste of money to give Mr. Olympia the $400,000. You can give him, $250,000, and you can take that other $150 and spread it over. Yeah. I agree with you totally on that one.
Okay, finally, Classic Physique for me will be even more so popular year by year. And this year I have no clue about the top 5 because the level is so exciting, that they're so even, it's hard to predict. Isn't it getting more exciting than bodybuilding pretty much?
Yeah, I think it is. I think that the physiques are better in some way. I think it was a mistake to raise the weight class, but because, I think you need to have a distinction.
As long as they stop. As long as they don't do it like every year, I'm happy.
Well, they've been doing it every year, and I think that's a problem.
But right now, I think it's a sweet spot. You know what? I was in Dubai with Arash, and he was driving supercars, and he was having fun. He was eating out, running, jumping. If I was with Big Ramy, he would be like a real estate. He could not do that. So these guys can have a life. I think youngsters will aspire to look like them. And
I agree.
you know for a fact when it comes to the supplements, they don't have to abuse basically to reach this kind of huge freakiness.
But they will. But they will.
Hopefully not.
They will.
I spoke to Arash this morning. I said the only thing I'm afraid of in classic physique, if the guys try to compete in conditioning and they try to bring something like Mr. Shreds, who passed away. I'm talking about Mr. I forgot his name.
Munzer?
Munzer, yeah. Munzer, who passed away in 93, I think, or 92.
Yeah.
He was Mr. Shred. So they're limited by height and weight. So the next thing they can compete in is crazy crisp conditioning and can be detrimental for them.
I think that the classic physique division is, like you said, the most exciting division out there because you're seeing a lot of new talent coming up. Once again, will it ever outshine the open? I don't think so. But you know what? You might see guys in the classic division move up to the open, okay, because they want to put more muscle on and they might have better lines. So you might start seeing some superstars being, almost like a farm league for the open. So who knows what the future holds? It's an exciting division because it's like a stepping stone between men's physique and bodybuilding, and it allows these guys to continue competing as they're growing. Don't be surprised, like I said, if you see a couple of these classic guys move up to that open division and do very well up there.
Respectfully, I don't agree with your prediction. I think it is not some sort of a stepping stone to bodybuilding. I think guys will go to it straight. As a testament, Bumstead, I was talking to him like a year and a half ago. He told me, Louis, what do you think? Am I in bodybuilding? Because he was a bodybuilder. I said, bro, go to classic physique. He went and he lost versus Darren Charles. I think it was politics in Florida, expectedly. But he continued. Right now he's number 2. I think he will stay there. I think he will get bigger because it is more humane. Bodybuilding, the all open, I think for it to be appealing again, it needs to come reasonable again. We don't have to push. I mean, Big Ramy, the first time he came to New York, he was at 285. It was not enough. What is enough? We need to bring reason and do not push these guys to be crazy big. And it always changes by the head, by the top. When Lee Haney was the reigning champion, everybody was following his lead. But when Dorian happened in 93, he brought the Big Fortnite era. And even Nasser El Somebody, you do recall in '94 when he placed second in the Night of Champions, second, and the first was Mike Francois. He was still small, but then he made that transformation in '95. He became big to compete with who? With Dorian. As a matter of fact, even Sean Ray tried to be bigger in '95, but he was softer. So it's always the top that makes the change. So if we have a champion who is more human, who is charismatic too, who does not disrespect his fellow peers, I think it will lead by example.
Look, I'm always looking. The bottom line is bodybuilders love the next big freak. To me, Ramy is like the next. Ramy's like Jesus Christ to the sport. Will he actually, show up the way everyone wants him to? I don't know. I don't know if he will be that, but I think he has potential to be a great Mr. Olympia if he puts it all together. I don't know what
he better do it soon because a lot of people are coming at him. Some youngsters are coming at him. He better do it soon. I mean, if he doesn't do it this year he's sitting back. He's not doing the Arnold. He has the whole year to prepare. Will we see that maturity finally, that conditioning?
I hope so.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Dave, it was an hour. I dare to see it was an honor too. Thank you for this, and I hope it is a testament for your fans, for fitness fans in general, that 2 adult male can have a proper, respectful discussion without cussing, without being, bringing some really juvenile, unworthy of respect kind of discourse to the scene. I think everybody will benefit. And on record, I do not want to compete you. If I can help you, by all means, I'm here. I'm not here to steal your views. I'm not here to steal the bread. I mean, listen, I'm doing the minimum. I don't even sell T-shirts. I told Aaron, I don't want to go to India. They want me to work for India. I want to take care of India. The only 2 athletes that take care of is Steve and Chris. I'm doing the minimum. I'm not doing videos on YouTube. If I do them, I have I have an inspiration. I don't wake up in the morning, okay, I'm going to make a video. So listen, I want a simple life. I'm no expert. I'm not bragging or boasting. God bless you. For me, it's not even my livelihood. I prefer saying I'm a trainer. I train only naturals. That's all I know. So Lui Marco is a trainer, and he's not an expert about bodybuilding. If you watch me, God bless you. I'll try to give my honest opinion. Sorry if I do offend you. And
you're not an expert, but you're more of an expert than I am, right?
No, absolutely not. I said I'm more popular.
I'm just breaking your balls
because I have some funny rhymes. That's it.
I'm just breaking your balls. You know what? I want you and your family. I wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Excuse me. And hopefully 2018 we could do more stuff together and really promote the sport. That's what it's all about.
Invite me whenever, as long, conditionally, that there is not basically a guest who is disrespectful. He cusses. I don't support that. It is against my...
I'll give you the guest ahead of time. You could vet them out. If you don't agree, then...
I mean, Chris Aceto, he can basically he cannot agree with me all he wants because he thinks I took Regan from him. I took Ramy, which is kind of true. I did influence maybe, Arash, maybe, I don't know. But it is just business. And God knows, on record, Chris Aceto, I was the guy who sent you Ramy. I told him, go to work with Aceto.
Well, why did you take him away from him then?
Because bodybuilding, as far as I see it, it is a young man's sport. Years are like dog years. The shelf life of these guys are very small. And he has his chance, and I didn't like him in 2016. He was really, really small. Granted, he was better in Spain, but sorry, Spain is not a major show.
It was the best he ever looked in Spain.
Yeah, but he should have looked like that in Mr. Olympia.
Well, he worked with him once. Don't you think that you should have said, well, maybe the second year he works with him, he'll be even better?
Well, there are a lot of things.
He got worse.
He
got worse.
I salute Chris, but there are things I don't like about him. You know, obviously I'm close to athletes. Chris supposedly always, when he sees his athletes, bro, you won Mr. Olympia. Sean Roden, you're Mr. Olympia. Arash, bro, you won. You're good. Regan, you're crazy. Ramy, it's yours. It never happens. So it is them who do not like that aspect of him. It's not me. I'm not their agent. I take $0 from these guys. That's my opinion. But I do it respectfully, and I salute him because even though he talks against me, at least he's a gentleman. He does not cuss and say some really low words. Thank you for assisting. I'm sorry to keep you late. I know that you have a young family. God bless you. I also wish you a happy new year and a very successful 2018. And thank you again.
All right. It was my pleasure.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye.